So investigators say that Heuermann's wife and children are not suspected of any wrongdoing, but the spotlight is still on them. And nobody knows what that feels like better than our next guest, Kerri Rawson, whose father, the BTK killer, Dennis Rader, currently serving life in prison. And Kerri is joining us now to talk more about this. So Kerri, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So many questions for you, and I want to begin with the attention on the family, right? Because we just played that soundbite with the family. And so many folks are saying, how could they possibly not have known what was going on? And I'm sure the same was said about you after your father was arrested. So talk a little bit about that experience for us.
My father, Dennis Rader, better known as the BTK killer, was arrested in 2005. I grew up like a somewhat normal childhood, but in hindsight, there was quite a bit of like control and abuse. But still, when the FBI knocked on my door, you know, it was the last thing you would ever imagine being notified. And he basically said, hey, your dad is BTK. Spent a couple hours questioning me. I tried to alibi my dad. I was defending him. I was going into shock. I actually turned my dad in on a murder down the street. I gave him information because I was like, wait, that one was unsolved. I mean, it was the most insane few hours of my life. And from that time period, I have PTSD that I still live with now.
I know you wrote a book about your experience breaking free and your father serving a life sentence. I mean, what's your relationship and how were you able to forgive him knowing how much pain he's caused to this nation, to so many other families?
In my father's case, he confessed early on. We were told that by law enforcement the first weekend, and he pled guilty within like 4 months. And so early on, my communications were letters, and that's what consisted until a few years ago when I actually had to legally cut him off due to him continuing to try to control the relationship and be a narcissist. The forgiveness comes in from just I was rotting inside. I was holding kind of everything against him. I was very angry inside, and so I let it go a decade ago, just for myself, really, to like try to recover and get back to who I was.
Right, and for those, by the way, at home, because we're a New York audience who may not know about BTK, this was in the 70s to 90s, 10 people that were murdered, and the BTK stands for bind, torture, kill. But let me ask you this, right, because we hear about the profiles of serial killers, right? This is your father who you described as a moral man who taught you your morals. He was a Boy Scout leader. He was a churchgoer. Can you talk about the compartmentalization of it all and how they're able to do this while also being present in your family?
Yes, my father likens it to cubing. It's a term he developed with Dr. Catherine Ramsland, a forensic psychologist that actually he co-wrote a book with. And he likens it to like a several-sided dice that he's rolling. And so he's showing you who he is. He's compartmentalizing dad, Boy Scout leader, church leader, father, BTK. And he's flipping it very quickly. And he's marrying what he wants you to see. And he's adapting within his environment. And then he's hiding in plain sight.
You know, we hear about serial killers keeping trophies from the crimes that they have committed. And I understand that your father had kept some in your treehouse as a kid growing up that he lovingly built for you. Looking back, did you ever think about those red flags or see belongings that you were thinking, this is not mine?
In hindsight, when I was 6, my father murdered our neighbor lady, Mrs. Hedge. She went missing. I knew at 6 that she was missing, and I knew her body had been found in the woods strangled a couple weeks later. In hindsight, I can tell you what his hit kit looked like. It was an old bowling bag, and he actually used an alibi of being at a bowling alley, this whole setup that he made. Obviously, the police didn't know to look for this bag. When you're talking about the ongoing case with in Rex's case, like, you know, you maybe are hearing about a car or some suspect like drawing or like what they might look like. But to put that all together, we're doing that now in hindsight. It's much easier over here to do that.
Right, because it was even so much so that your father came home one night and said to the family, don't worry, we're safe, while this was all going on in those neighborhoods, right? So if you had a chance, by the way, have you had a chance to talk to any of the families of the victims here in our area from these Gilgo cases, or even the family of Heuermann himself?
I am available at all times for these families, and that contact information is being put out there. I would be very protective of my relationships with any family to any degree. If they wanted to comment about me being in their life, then that would be up to them. And so we're just going to have to take things a day at a time and support these families the best that we can.
Yeah, I think you also answered the question about advice that I was going to have, but it sounds like you just answered that as well.
Yeah. All right, Kerri, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate your time. If you want to pick up Kerri's book, Breaking Free, Overcoming the Trauma of My Serial Killer Father, a Serial Killer's Daughter, available wherever books are sold.
Thank you, Kerri. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.